where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Merris.
Hello.
It's fucking Merris Monday.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, many of you have messaged me, and many of you got no response as to where we had gone, fearing that the pod was no more. Mm-hmm. Fear not. Mm-hmm. No, y'all, we were in the path of the really bad storms in northwest
Tornadoes.
Arkansas. There were 14, not in our area.
We lost power
for a couple days, and then we lost internet for a week.
We lost internet forever.
So
there was no way to upload.
There was no way to do research.
We replied when we could.
Yeah, basically what happened is because nobody in the area had internet, then the cell phone...
We had mobile service, barely.
Barely, sometimes. Because it was overloaded. Yeah. And so I frequently had no service, nothing to do. Y'all, it was rough.
But we didn't have anything fall on our house or anything like that.
No, we're really, really lucky. But Willow was without power and internet the same duration. I mean, obviously she's right next door. But what really sucked is that a few days before the storms, our house lost power for what was seemingly no reason.
Ghosts.
And like nothing, like the bill was paid.
The whole house, the whole thing.
It started by half the house went out.
Yeah.
And then the whole rest of the fucking house. Well, it turns out the breaker was faulty, but it's all fixed now.
The breaker on the outside pole, which we learned has a breaker. So now you know.
Now you know. But that's all fixed. But it was just like the whole month of May conspired to where I couldn't even upload Patreon episodes for you guys. I couldn't. Yep. And so... And Willow was still in between not having any kind of vehicle, so it was hard to coordinate schedules. But now things have evened out.
We have power and internet.
Both fucking things.
Yeah. So
today, we're getting right back into it. So if you aren't on Patreon or on Facebook or Instagram and have didn't know what was going on, we're back to our regular recording schedule. Thursdays will be the regular Cruelty Podcast. Mondays are Merris Mondays. And patrons should have an episode up by Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
We're just going to do our best.
We are doing our best, but we're back on track. We're back. Hooray. And so, today, we're going to talk about weird shit.
Oh, thank God.
Right? It's been a minute.
Ugh, with all this no power bullshit and...
Yeah.
We just need something good.
We're going to talk about a horse.
What? I thought you said we're going to talk about cool shit.
Well, just hold on, because this is the part of the story that is just so fucking weird. So, a horse. His name is Range 4 Harry. What the fuck is that?
Maybe those weird racehorse names.
No. Okay. Buckle up, cowboys, cowbies. That's what I call non-binary cowfolk. And cowgirls. I'm about to tell you. And yes, we will rank him on the scale. But not just a horse. We're also talking about the tall whites. And no, not your cousin.
Cowfolk. I like cowfolk for non-binary.
I like cowbies. So, screw you. And no, I'm not talking about your cousin Jeff, who was 6'8" at 15 and played high school basketball. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about some aliens.
Oh, good. Finally, something good.
Yeah. So our story begins in
With
March.
A horse.
No. Of 1965 at Nellis Air Force Base. Nellis is right next to Las Vegas in southern Nevada. It started in 1925 as a dirt landing strip in an airfield and later went on to host lots of air combat training exercises.
It could be like Ellis Air Force Base.
Nellis.
Okay, Nellis.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Wow, it's great podcasting today.
Yeah.
There also nukes were tested there.
Okay.
So, and it's pretty well known in the UFO weirdo world.
Yeah, I know about Nellis.
I've heard
Air
about
Force
Nellis
Base.
many times.
Yeah.
And I actually listened to the Coast to Coast AM episode about this.
Oh, dang.
That's
some
hosted
real
by,
research.
fucking George Snorri. Okay, so I'm going to take it.
Okay,
Exactly.
just the coast to coast is complete diarrhea, poo-poo garbage now.
Do you know how sad that makes my heart?
George Norrie has one man nuked that show from orbit.
You can hear his his dentures slapping around in his mouth.
Drunk audibly.
He is drunk.
The drunkest, slurringest.
And he puts on Trumpy fuckwads.
He used to have like Roger Stone as a guest and
all the time.
Oh yeah, I was always like, what the?
Tell people who Roger Stone is.
Oh, he's the Nixon guy who like got in with Trump, and he was in jail for a while, I believe, and now it's just right wing My Pillow fucking crazy nonsense. He has a Nixon tattoo. That's my favorite.
Does he really?
On his back. Oh, his whole back is a Nixon face.
I will say that Richard Milhous Nixon is my favorite president, but not because he's good.
I feel like if I say the T word is my favorite, but not for good reasons. Oh, but complete off the wall, like it's like WrestleMania, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like 20 times Nixon if you look far back, you know.
Nixon was a great president compared to stupid Trump.
No, I'm not saying he's great in any way, and all garbage, but it's just so crazy. Just nuts.
And you know, I think it's pretty much verifiable that there was something really mentally wrong with Nixon.
Yeah.
I really recommend Oliver Stone's movie Nixon. Anthony Hopkins plays Nixon. Doesn't look like him. Doesn't sound like him. It doesn't matter. It's a great movie. I will be doing a horrible history this month on Nixon because I love him. I love the weird guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, politics aside, Nellis Air Force Base, all of that good stuff. Coast to Coast. Okay, so I listened to the Coast to Coast. George Norrie has never been good as a host. No. He asks the most stupid, asinine, dumb fuck questions.
And I love his pizza roll stories and how he loves This a Wonderful Life, a movie.
I don't love that. I hate it. We call him George Snorri. And if you've been a long-time listener to this podcast, then you would know that I have thrown down the gauntlet. I will fight you, George Norrie.
He's just doddering.
Shut up. I will fight you in an alley of your choosing. I will come to the alley, bare knuckle, and I'm going to kill you. That's all.
R.I.P. Art Bell. Just R.I.P.
And look, I listened to, because we had nothing. We had no internet. And I have ADHD, so I have to have sound on at all times or I really flip the fuck out. Merris had luckily downloaded some Coast to Coast episodes, on his tablet. So we were listening to old Art Bell's. And I love Art Bell, but he was a piece of shit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but his voice was so good.
Yeah.
And he was so into every guest. Yes. He was so here for it.
Yeah.
But my favorite episode, and I'm going to fucking link it. Merris happened to play, and there's a little story, and then I'll get back to our main story.
Our story, yeah.
So, back in the late 90s, I was a delivery driver for Mazzio's Pizza, and I worked at night, and so that meant I would get super lucky, and Coast to Coast would come on while I was delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
And I was pumped. That theme song come up,
and
I was like, oh, yes, weird shit, here we go. And this was the worst guest, the worst episode. I remember I got so mad that I just wanted to run my car into a wall. And it was fucking Dannion Brinkley. He's dead now, as he deserves. So who is Dannion Brinkley? He was like a psychic healer, right? Mm-hmm. Whose claim to fame was that he was constantly dying.
He got hit by lightning like
3
12 times.
Three times. Yeah. He had a blood clot problem, and he messed up his dosage on that. So
every disease.
So the whole episode started with 30 solid minutes of Dannion from his hospital bed, which they mentioned like 8 times, talking about his various old man maladies. Mm-hmm. Well,
my leg's acting up.
And I'm doing the wrong old man voice. Yeah. He has a Southern accent, but it's a gay Southern accent. And I just don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
And as a gay, I can say that.
Yeah.
Okay? But he's like, well, Art, I'm in the hospital, and I had 13 blood clots, Art. And they tried to open up my skull, Art, but the clots kept forming. And I could die any moment, but I won't. Oh, no, Art, I won't die.
Right, yep. That was a really good impression.
Thank you. Art Bell would be like, well, Dannion, I can't do an Art Bell.
No.
He was like, maybe you just, it's not your time. And anything.
You've just not been called back yet, Daniel.
Anything Art Bell said, Daniel would go, no, Art, that's wrong. It is my time, but your love sustains me, Art. It sustains me.
Oh, your
and
collars
it's just
and your
30 minutes of him saying, like, my bowels don't work and my legs don't work. And,
R.I.P.
and I'm breathing only out of half a lung. And right now there are 13 clots in my brain. And it's just like, Daniel,
stop.
Fuck off. And he was like, but I'll be out of this hospital soon. Spoiler alert.
He wasn't.
No, he died, right after that episode.
Yeah.
But it is just, I'm going to link it because I need y'all to listen to this man describe his maladies that have nothing to do with anything. And how
I just picked the episodes at random. I didn't know it was the Daniel episode I downloaded.
I started hollering because I'd never heard it since that day. I was like a kid
I didn't
delivering
recognize
pizza.
the name. I just picked random.
Oh, shit, Daniel Brinkley. I hope you're in hell.
Wow.
Well,
Okay,
he's just a snake oil salesman.
Getting back to the tall whites.
Yeah, it's 1965. That's
okay.
where our story starts at
Yeah.
Nellis Air Force Base. When a man named Charles Hall arrived at the base, Charles had just finished basic training and he was posted to Nellis. Charles had scored high in math and science and graduated at the top of his class. And because of his excellent grades and test scores, Charles was convinced he could basically choose wherever he wanted to be stationed. That is kind of how it used to work anyway.
Dang.
But no. He didn't get a choice.
What happened?
Well, it's part of a conspiracy, but he doesn't know that at the time. He got sent to Nellis and trained as a weather observer.
Okay.
Which is really
probably fun. I don't know.
He found it fun. Because he's a
nerd.
big fucking nerd.
Yeah, I'd like it. So.
And it was very quiet.
Yeah.
And he was often alone.
Awesome. Best part of those kind of jobs, yeah.
He drove alone in a military jeep, and he took readings from various weather stations around the base, and that suited him just fine.
I'd love that job, yeah.
So once he'd kind of settled into his job, well, into the base, he hadn't done his job yet, Charles spent some time shooting the breeze with his friend Dwight, who had also been stationed at Nellis, and Dwight claimed it was him that got him stationed there because they were friends. Then that was fine. They were chit-chatting, and they were talking about, like, which commanding officers were cunts, and which ones were cool, and how shitty military food was.
Yeah.
And it was just like a normal conversation until Dwight got all weird, and he got all quiet. And his face turned serious, and he told Charles some disturbing and weird shit.
All right.
He said, "Summer is coming." It's like, well,
no shit, we're weathermen. We can see it coming.
Yeah. And that meant Charles would have to keep an eye out for Range 4 Harry.
The fuck is that?
Harry liked it hot in the summer, in the desert. Harry hid in the mountains in the winter, but summer was when he was on the prowl.
Is he a Bigfoot?
No. He's a lot of stuff, but he's not a Bigfoot. Oh. Dwight went on to say that Harry liked running around in the dry lake bed on Range 4, hence how he got the name. He told Charles to be careful, ominously. Charles was naturally just like, what the
You're pulling
fuck,
my leg, Dwight.
What are you talking about? Was it some crazy mountain man running around on base? And he asked Dwight what he meant by this ominous and vague warning. After all, even a crazy mountain man would be nuts to run around a nuclear bombing range. Right?
Okay, true. Yeah.
Dwight didn't want to fucking talk about Range 4 Harry. There was dread in his eyes.
You're being away, Dwight.
But he reluctantly told him the entire story of Range 4 Harry. In 1954, a nuke was detonated nearby, and Harry was a horse at the time, and had wandered too close to the blast site. Now, the horse did not get vaporized, so don't be scared. He wasn't, like, that close, but his proximity to the blast changed him in strange ways.
This is stupid.
I'm not done.
Okay.
The horse now glowed white.
Yep, real stupid. It's now like, what was Gandalf's horse name? Shadowfart or something?
Shadowfax.
Yeah. Okay.
And I hate that I know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get real weird with this episode today. So, in addition to glowing weirdly, Harry didn't really look like a horse anymore in the face. He had a human face with bright blue eyes.
I played that video game. My
a
horse
handsome
prince?
horse prince? Yeah. Oh. I'm going to include... Okay, let's take a second, because this game... So, it was like it like went viral on Reels or something. I don't remember. It was many years ago.
Yeah, it was like 10 years ago, but I remember it.
And it was a game where it's a horse, but he had a human face.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to train him and ride him. And he's your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And Merris played the whole game.
I played it all the way through.
How unhinged was it?
Real unhinged, but I liked it. But anyway, it's starring a horse with a man with an anime head.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a handsome horse prince.
Yeah, Harry was also handsome.
Okay.
Yeah, in the face. Well, Charles immediately lost his shit and laughed his ass off because this is a stupid fucking story.
Yes.
And he knew that when you finished basic and you got assigned, you had to face some hazing. Mm-hmm. So he just assumed his leg was being pulled, and the guy was trying to scare him, even though
that's a stupid.
That's
monster.
Not a scary story. Yeah. It becomes
it's
scary
Spider-Man
later. Don't
story,
worry.
actually.
It is. It's like look at this radioactive horse with a man's face.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, before we go further, because this is not the true identity of Range 4 Harry. Okay.
Okay.
Who does exist? We have to rate him on the fuckability scale as a horse with a man's face, and I'm going to put him at a 2.
That's pretty low for you.
There's a couple reasons.
Well, he's radioactive. That's
the main reason. I don't want to get like Cades of the everything.
Right. You don't.
That's cancer AIDS.
Yeah.
Because so let me explain that because that was offensive. I'm a hypochondriac, and so I always think I have some horrible malady. Those two included, even though I don't. Mm-hmm. And so I just combined them into Cades to not have to say either word.
Yeah.
Stupid. But I don't want to get Cades from fucking a horse with a man's face.
Right.
Also, he's a horse in the place that's important. As I've said on the fuckability scale.
Is that canon? Is that part of the lore?
What, that he's a horse?
Like that someone's seen part of his wing-wang? Or?
No, God, he's a male horse. His name is Harry. I assume he has a horse cock.
I just thought that maybe the guy mentioned it or something.
Oh, I wish I were dead. Okay. But because he does not have a human dongle, it can't go.
No,
because I draw the line.
You could do stuff.
We can kiss. I will kiss.
He has a man's face. He should be higher. That's why I'm shocked.
He can go downtown, but I'm not going to do it because he's radioactive, but I'll at least think about it a little bit. That's why he gets a 2.
It feels low for me.
Don't worry, it goes way up.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry. We'll get there. It's a big surprise.
Oh.
Yeah.
More.
But anyway, obviously a human-faced blue-eyed horseman is silly. And Charles was just like, yeah, sure. Whatever. But Dwight wasn't fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
He cautioned Charles again that if he found himself up on Range 4, he must be very, very careful.
Okay.
Or he could end up like a very unfortunate man who may be dead at this point in the story named John Zimmerman.
Range 4 makes it sound like it's a golf course.
It's not. It is a literal dry lake bed in the fucking desert.
Okay.
The high desert, no less.
Yeah.
So the following day, Charles was at the base's infirmary getting a routine physical, and he was kind of laughing to himself about Range 4 Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously that's silly shit, right?
Yeah.
And the nurse was like, what's so funny? Because she's a nosy bitch.
Yeah.
And he told her what Dwight told him and how he was certain that he was being punked. He even mentioned the ill-fated and enigmatic John Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
But the nurse didn't laugh. Oh, no. She hurried out of the room. Mm-hmm. She returned with a file. She told Charles she wasn't supposed to show anyone this. But as he was going to Range 4, Charles deserved to know what he was up against.
Okay. A horseman.
Yes. The nurse handed Charles the file. It was John Zimmerman's medical file, and inside were pictures showing a man, presumably John Zimmerman, just dying and covered in radiation burns.
Oh.
The actual report inside the file said that Zimmerman reported that a white horse charged him on Range 4, and then he didn't remember anything after that.
Do you think that he found out the fuckability scale? That's what got him radiated?
He came at Harry, and Harry wasn't having it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was
or
a
Harry
horse.
was too amorous. Oh, that gives gross implications.
Well, the horse was coming for him, so I'm assuming that the horse was the one that initiated.
Well, I'm really glad you put that to rest, because I sure would have wondered in my mind for the rest of my life had you not said that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought about this.
I'm glad you thought about a man-faced radioactive horse zooming to fuck a guy.
He's charging, yeah.
Not his lasers, his wiener.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
he's got radiation burns, so.
Okay, so here's the story: is that John Zimmerman was working out on Range 4.
Okay, he was
And
like
he's-
lifting weights and very seductively.
No, he was
Oh.
just working out there measuring weather.
Oh.
Yeah, and in a nerdly fashion.
Yeah, okay.
And he hears the thundering of hooves.
Ugh.
And he turns and he looks and he sees a glowing white horse. And he's like, wow, that horse is glowing. And then he don't remember nothing else. He comes to.
That's a radioactive horse.
Yeah. He came to and he is like literally dying. Like he has to crawl.
That'd be so rad if that's what took me out. I mean, I'd be pissed too.
But no, that's cool.
But like, I mean, it's sad that that you're going out. But like, you got gone out by a radioactive horse.
All your friends would be like, well, I died of colorectal cancer.
Mhm.
I got hit by a train. And you're like, a radioactive horse
glowing
wanted to
horse.
fuck me and then knocked me down and killed me.
The horse of death. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Zimmerman like managed to crawl to like where someone else was, and they revived him enough, but then he died, I guess.
Oh, that's sad. R.I.P.
Yeah. So Charles was like, I mean, okay. He didn't know what to make of it.
No, I wouldn't know what to do. That's a crazy story that you've, I guess, given me proof about. Were there hoof marks on him?
No hoof marks.
Okay.
Because we'll get into what I think happened later. Later that day, Charles went to Range 4 to meet the man he would be replacing.
Okay.
And this man's name was Sullivan. He went by Sully. They got on really good together. Sully was like a fun guy, because Sully is a fun guy name. And they were
He's a silly Sully.
he's a silly little Sully.
Yeah.
And they were joking around and laughing. And he told him he would take him on a tour of all the ranges where all the weather shacks would be, that he would be taking the measurements, right? So they stop at a weather shack and it is locked. And Sully's like, okay, we'll just make up some numbers.
Silly Sully, that is not how we do our job.
And Charles was like, dude, no, I just started. I'm not going to fake the numbers.
Right? What the hell?
He's like, there are like 5 other weather shacks. Can we go to one of those?
Right?
And Sully was like,
Can we pretend to do our job?
And Sully was like, I don't want to go to the other shacks. And fucking Charles was like, but you said you'd give me a tour. So he's like, fine, I'll do it.
God, Sully, lazy bastard.
Sully said he'd take him to another range's weather station. It was Range 1, but he said he refused to go to Range 4 and he wouldn't talk about it.
Okay, yeah, the radioactive horse is there, yeah.
Harry, yeah.
No.
Sully took Charles to Range 1's weather shack. Sully refused to get out of the Jeep. He was scared, but he promised, and this is like the shittiest promise in the world, by the way. He was like, okay, here's what I'll do. I'm not fucking getting out of the Jeep.
You're not going to do your job and go to the shack and look at a thing. That sounds like the best job I've ever heard. I want to be the
it was really
weatherman.
good. So he's like, I'm not getting out. You can go in and check all you want, okay? But if some weird shit goes down, he's like, I will go get help.
You suck so bad, Sully.
Sully's the worst.
Sully the sucker.
That's a porn.
Wow. No.
You did it.
Sucky Sully. No.
Nope,
that's
stop
bad.
it. Stop saying suck and Sully at the same time. You're ruining it. You're ruining it. You're ruining the integrity of this podcast. Okay. So, off, this story's so lame. So Sully was like, I will go get help and you will lock the door. And he's like, don't fucking come out till I come back with help, but with like guns. And Charles is like, okay. So he goes in there because he's like, this is stupid. And before he went into the shack, he asked Sully if it was about Range 4 Harry, and Sully got fucking pissed. And he was like, we don't talk about that dumb shit. He's like, it's all made up. Leave me alone.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe he made out with him. You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
The relationship
Maybe he
ended
was shamed, Sully.
badly. Yeah. So Charles went ahead and went inside the weather shack to do his job, but he noted that the logbook hadn't been updated in many, many months.
Sully, you bastard.
Yeah, so basically Sully had been making up the numbers all along and hadn't gone into the weather shacks at all.
What an asshole.
Like the entirety of his service.
Ugh.
As soon as he got back into the Jeep, Charles confronted Sully about the made-up weather pattern numbers, and Sully was like, yeah, I faked them. And I don't give a shit.
You should be fired.
This is like last day. He refused to ever go back to the ranges ever again after giving Charles a tour. He's like, you can tell people I don't even care. Fuck you. So as the months passed, Charles was out on the ranges and the weather shacks all the time, and he went to get everybody's like dire warnings and advice not to go out there alone. He liked the solitude. He thought the desert was rad. He was having a good time. And one particularly hot day out in the weather shack, Charles felt like kind of off. He was like tired and kind of zoned out. And he just was listening to like this beautiful trilling bird song, like a meadowlark.
Yay.
But meadowlarks are birds of pastures and rolling hills, not high desert.
Oh, that's true.
And he realized it was real weird to hear that trilly, very melodic bird song. He'd never heard it in the desert before. Look. Then he saw something really weird as the sun was setting. Darting between the scrubby sagebrush was a creature. He thought maybe it was a coyote or a rabbit, but it was kind of big, so he wasn't sure, and he thought it had shining white fur. The way it was running, he thought the animal looked like it was injured or afraid. So he opened the door to the weather shack, maybe thinking, like, I'm going to help an animal. Like when we drive around and there's a million turtles in the road.
Oh, turtles in the road.
We save the turtles in the road.
Yes. We saw a big boy. Cute. We saw like this huge
tortoise. Saw one like the size of my car tire.
Yep.
I wouldn't admit moving him. He's already on the side of the road.
But he was a big turtle.
He was a big boy, and it was so rad. But mostly we find little tiny ones, and they're so cute. Anyway, so he got closer to the creature, but it wasn't a rabbit. It was a child.
Uh-oh.
So not a horse either.
Oh.
It was a little girl. She was very pale, like chalky white. She was about 3 feet tall. She wore a silver jumpsuit and had platinum blonde hair. She looked very scared, and she had great big blue eyes. And she was like all kind of caught in the brush, like her clothes and stuff. And Charles like hollered out to her. He's like, I'll help you. Don't be scared. And then he kind of came up to her and he gently extracted the girl from the brush. And he's like, listen, if you're lost, because she was so scared, she's like flinching away from him. And he's like, if you're lost, you can come to me and I'll help you.
Yeah.
And then he put his canteen full of water on a fence post because it's the desert. It's hot.
Yeah.
And he turned to walk back into the shack, maybe to radio someone. I'm not really sure on that part of the story. And then he heard something crashing, something way bigger.
Oh, no. He's in trouble. Yeah.
And he turned around and looked, and he saw a tall-ass man.
Not a horse.
I mean, like nearly 7 feet tall.
Not a horse, though.
No. Like the child, he was very pale. He had platinum blonde hair, and he, too, wore a silver jumpsuit. And he was running full tilt at Charles.
Oh, my God.
The bird song became screaming screeches.
Oh, God.
Like very high-pitched squealing sounds. Charles freaked the fuck out because, of course, he dashed into the shack, locked and barricaded the door, and he waited for hours. While he knew Harry was supposed to be a horse, he wondered if this was the illustrious rage for Harry. Maybe he could take other forms. Well, he didn't know.
2 things, because there was a kid and a man.
Yeah, I don't think I'd jump to thinking, is this Harry? I'd be like, no, this is just weird and different.
You'd think this is a weird thing that's happening, just like that weird story.
I would think that.
And they're both very white and shining. So I might jump to it.
Maybe. Finally, he got up the courage to leave the weather shack to kind of look around and see what was what. He did know one thing for sure. That the girl and the man weren't human. They did not look human. They looked kind of human, but they were weird. Like their skin was very poreless.
Well, you definitely don't expect like pale Swedes that are like in the desert wearing
nearly 8 feet tall,
wearing their little jumpsuits. It would be a weird thing. Yeah.
And he inspected his canteen. It was half empty. And then he went to like look around where the child had been stuck, and he saw 3 sets of footprints, 2 adults and the child's. That meant there was another one at some point.
Yeah.
So Charles was like, fuck this shit. And he got in his Jeep and he's like, I'm noping the fuck out of here. I'm done.
Yeah.
He was scared. He was driving back to the base. And after only driving for a few minutes, he saw a woman that was over 6 feet tall on the side of the road. She was white, like the other 2. She was wearing like a flowy dress, though. And she had long silver hair and she was like hot as fuck.
Wow.
She's beautiful, like angel beautiful, like and
High
not
on the scale.
very high, like a 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like you would put your dick in it because wowsy wowzers.
Wowsy wowzer, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of stopped the car and he's like staring at her. He's scared,
Yeah.
But
there's people out here. You might stop, yeah.
As he starts freaking out, he suddenly is like calm as shit. Unnaturally calm.
Yeah.
And he hears the woman's voice in his head. And she's like, "Thank you for helping my daughter." The child that was caught in the bushes.
Yeah.
And I would have gone on if I was the tall bitch. And I would have been like, "For my child is stupid."
Right.
And got caught in a bush like an idiot.
A bush, thwarted her.
Like a plastic bag. She was caught in the bush.
Yeah.
I hate that part of the story because it's so dumb.
No, I agree.
So, the sense of calm suddenly left. He's freaking out again, and the woman vanished.
Mm-hmm.
He got out of his car, puked twice, got back in his car, and drove away.
Hope it's not radiation.
Later, that is what they think. But he didn't get enough to have any long-term problems.
Right.
Charles had encountered creatures known as the tall whites, beings who are super hot, super pale, androgynous, and not from Earth. The government calls them the tall whites, given that they are white and tall. Yeah.
And apparently radioactive?
All aliens are, really, if you think about it. All of our stories we tell, there's always radiation involved.
Whenever there's a very close encounter, for sure.
So I'm going to take a moment to say, my youngest must be one of these things, okay? Because he's just like that. He's like a glass frog. He's so pale you can see his insides a little bit, like all of his veins.
Yeah.
His hair is almost white. His eyes are very pale blue. He doesn't look like anyone I know, including me. My kid is an evil space alien child of the corn, village of the damned guy.
I mean, yeah.
He looks like a cryptid.
Yeah.
Ugh, weirdo.
So back to these guys.
Anyway, our friend
that are
Charles
radioactive,
had been chosen especially for this assignment by the shadow government. Because he was a smarty pants. And if you don't think that government agencies don't try to recruit young smarty pantses, think again, because the CIA tried to recruit me when I was 17.
That's crazy.
Yes, based on all my test scores. But I was very goth and very pissy and evil, and I said they could eat pant. And I didn't want to work for the man, and I'm glad I didn't. And at the time, they called themselves the National Security Agency. But that's the name they use when they recruit people, especially high schoolers. And it's a good thing I dropped out because it would be cool to know alien secrets, but the CIA are bastards. Yeah. Charles was never read into any programs. He wasn't briefed. He thought he was just a weather analyst. Naturally, this makes his story impossible to prove. But we here on Merris Mondays, we slip the surly bonds of proof and choose instead to believe every bit of bullshit there is.
We choose to believe.
Yeah, I want to, and everything.
Yeah.
There have been reports, though, of tall whites going all the way back to recorded time, forever. There's tons of reports of these things. But a really interesting one made the front page in a Colorado newspaper in 1865. A colonel named Colonel Shaw was traveling at night in a carriage and shit, and he saw 3 of these motherfuckers standing in the road, and they were 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
They're very pale, wearing the silver jumpsuits.
There's 3 of them again, though. They come in threes.
They do. And he was immediately he wasn't scared. He was like, my dick is so hard. These are the hottest dudes I've ever seen.
Wow. And
he wasn't sure if they were ladies or dudes, and he did not give a shit. He was like, I'm going to fuck immediately. Dude. It was in the paper. He was like, they were so beautiful. Oh my God. They were just the most beautiful. I wanted to kiss them. It's very ridiculous. And I just mention it because that's a long time ago to have the same exact description of a
3
thing.
of them, yeah.
And there were 3 of them, just like in the first story. There are 3 of them. They do seem to go in groups for the record, and usually in groups of 3s, which I find
awful,
curious, like a mockery of the Trinity, or something. Paul Hellyer who we have talked about on this podcast
He
before.
sounds familiar,
Yes,
yeah.
is the former Canadian defense minister, and he talked about them. But to be fair, he talked about a lot of really wacky stuff. So let's just believe him for fun, even though I'm dubious at best and I think he's had a stroke. Anyway, the tall whites have been visiting Earth for thousands and thousands of years, along with the gray aliens and some blue dudes and reptile guys and mantis things.
I want to know more about the blue guys.
The blue guys are very benevolent and they're chill.
Okay.
The grays suck ass.
Yeah.
The mantis things, I don't care if they're good. I'm going to fucking kill them with my car.
Yeah.
They better
suck.
not.
Yeah.
Or just hide behind a wall because I can't cope.
'em.
They freak me out.
Yeah.
Reptiles.
Meh. Whatever. I heard they're bad, but I don't care.
I don't care. I'm bad.
Yeah.
So we'll see who's the worst.
We'll fight them.
We'll lose. Okay, so it was said that in 1954, the U.S. government made a deal with the tall whites. We don't know the specifics of the deal, but basically, I imagine that the tall whites exchanged some hot twinks for like the ability to abduct us at random. They did not. They gave us their technology, but it'd be a lot cooler if they gave us hot twinks instead. Yeah. So I guess they want to probe our butts and
fun.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Look, tall whites, if you're as hot as everyone says, just ask. We will let you clap our cheeks.
Yeah.
Our entire race is desperately horny.
It's true. It's true.
We'll fuck weird things.
You will, yeah.
Oh, I certainly will. Like the Spider-Man from Baldur's Gate 3. That makes you mad, but I would marry the Spider-Man, kiss him, and let him eat me so I don't have to pay bills. Ah, he's handsome.
I'm not into the Spoodermans.
Oh, man. He comes with his own fucking bondage.
He's got too many legs.
They can touch things. I'm interested. Anyway, Merris, we're going to rate the tall whites now.
Well, they're supposed to be so hot that you go bananas when you see them.
So I give them a 10.
Yeah, 10.
I mean, they look like Tolkien elves, sing like little birds. That's cute.
That's fun, yeah.
They do seem pretty polite, except for the abductions and atrocities.
Making you radioactive and
that
dead.
Sucks. But maybe there's maybe y'all, you know how we make artificial raspberry flavor with beaver butt glands? Maybe we have something up our ass similar.
Oh, no one's had that theory.
I'm
Maybe
the
we
first.
taste like vanilla.
Ooh, no, we're gonna taste weird, okay? We're gonna umami. I'm getting umami from our butts. Like,
maybe I just taste like vanilla.
I'm just not gonna tell the listeners what your butt tastes like.
Oh.
Yay, though I know. It just tastes like skin. But anyway, I did tell them, I said I wouldn't, and then I did because I've got problems and I can't keep my mouth shut.
We're moving
Oh, he's
on.
dying, and he deserves it for saying stupid things. Anyway.
That's what I'm here for.
He was such a fucking cunt yesterday. He was just picking at me and being a little squirrely little shit, and he knew it too because he had that smile where he wrinkles his cute little nut fucker. Anyway, he was making fun of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe we're like nacho cheese up there.
Yeah.
Huh?
I could be nacho flavored.
Or like caramel.
Oh, man.
Maybe
we're
that's
just
why
hungry.
people like eating ass so much. Maybe we can get a little whiff of whatever magical butt gland we have up there that tall whites use in their food production.
I'm wearing my tinfoil hat. This is my new theory.
I think it's the best we got.
Yep. We're beaver glands.
Actually, I have a theory as to why they probe butt skin. Just like the inside of your mouth, and if you're a vagina haver, the inside of your butt has really fast self-replicating cells, which is why colorectal cancer is so dangerous. But it also means the cells in our butts are really mutable mucous membrane things that are easy to work with.
They're harvesting our butts is what I heard.
They're getting our butt tubes.
Our
They're
butts.
coring out our anuses. That is so rude.
Yeah.
Look, can't you just... Can we just do some butt plugs or like DP or something? Why do you have to take out the whole ass? It's not fun for me.
Wow.
Anyway. Like they can't resist our yummy butt glands or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in exchange for abducting and probing, they gave us alien tech. But they refused to give us anti-gravity. They said that we suck too much to get something that powerful and fair.
That's a good point. They're
But
making a good point.
That's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it?
Yeah, butt stealers.
You abduct me and, oh no, probe me. And like, what, we get like Velcro or something? Fuck off.
Not fair. That's not a fair trade.
All right, tall whites, for $25 US,
Mm-hmm.
you can abduct me and gently probe me.
I'm going to need more money than that.
No, I'm fine. It can be a repeat thing. Mm-hmm. But that's 20 per tall
Every
white.
time.
So like if there's a group of y'all, which is also acceptable, that's 25 each. I still think it's pretty cheap.
That's too low.
I'm a cheap slut.
All right.
The tall whites taught us how to make titanium and use it, well, not make titanium, but how to utilize titanium in aviation. And shortly after, we broke the sound barrier with a plane.
Ooh, good job, us.
They gave us lasers, fiber optics, microchips, transistors, drones, night vision, and satellites.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Charles Hall, given that he saved the little girl tall white, was now a buddy to the tall whites, and they'd started sharing their knowledge with him. They even showed him their surveillance ships, and what's interesting is the description of the surveillance ships of the tall whites are Tic Tacs.
So they couldn't figure out bushes?
That's where I'm at. Well, it's a child, though. Children are notoriously stupid.
They couldn't just go pick them up themselves?
Well, the dad was coming. He was running to get her. And Charles got to her first.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And then the dad was like, stay away from my kid. You see what I'm saying?
Bush technology thwarted them.
The bush really fucked this kid up. Yeah. So they were chill with Charles. And then he got to meet Range 4 Harry.
In the flesh?
In the fucking flesh.
In the horse flesh?
He's not a horse. He was a tall white, but like they can project images into your head. So he was making people think he was a horse.
I wish I had that power.
But then why wouldn't you give yourself a horse head? Why would you give yourself a man face?
Maybe he's not good at his power and could only do most of his body.
That reminds me of what we do in the shadows when he turned into a cat, but he still had his face.
That's what was happening to that fucking alien.
Is that what's happening to the man-faced cat, Stuart, that lives under our deck?
You don't need to remind everybody about him.
He had a man face.
But he clearly wasn't good at it. Like,
what if he's just a really hot, like, fairy guy that lives under the deck that wants to touch my boobs?
No.
Anyway, tall whites fly around, like, they go, like, through space in the big black triangle ships.
Okay. And the Tic Tacs, apparently.
The scouting ships are Tic Tacs.
Okay.
In addition, the tall whites will determine when we're allowed to leave, like, our planet and go to other planets.
That's telling us what to do, and I don't like that.
That's nice of them.
Yeah.
So why was Charles so special? Other than that he saved a kid from some dastardly bushes,
right.
He was part of an experiment that the tall whites did to study this very mediocre cishet man. See, that's where his story falls apart for me.
Yeah. They thought he in
Charles
particular
isn't
was
even
the chosen
hot.
one.
Like, maybe they find, like, mid-cis dudes hot.
They must have not liked that Zimmerman's.
They killed the shit out of that guy. Range 4 Harry was like, get away from me, I'm a horse.
Yeah.
You know, that's his voice, by the way. I'm a horse. Yeah, so, anyway, the lady one that he saw that made him puke. Yeah, probably gave him a weird boner.
Yeah.
She was the teacher, and they had an intense emotional relationship.
I don't
they
believe
fucked.
That for
I
a
believe
second.
it.
I don't believe that for a second.
No, this is where it falls apart. I think he saw something, but they never talked to him.
Right.
Anyway, Charles learned all about their abilities. One, their language is like bird song. So remember that shit from earlier, heard the birds, you know? They can project emotions into humans' heads along with images. They can also feel our feelings. So they're like a drunk girl at a bar saying she's an empath.
Right.
Cool. Usually peaceful. They always got that thing on them, though.
Except for Zimmerman. They fucked that guy.
And that thing is a pin-like device that they can paralyze you with or kill you with.
Oh, okay.
With, like, directed radiations. That's what killed Zimmerman.
That's rude and awful.
Yeah. Because ultimately, the tall whites fear us.
Good. Fear us.
They say we're really psychically powerful if we just tap into it. And we're not, or something.
Well, we're just failing at it.
Charles was pals with the tall whites for 2 years until he had to go to Vietnam in 1967, and he never saw them again.
Okay.
Charles waited 40 years to publish a book about his experience, and a lot of the details in his story were researched and proven true.
Okay.
Like his military record.
Yeah.
All of that's
doesn't mean
true.
You're not nuts.
Where he worked.
Okay.
He worked at Range 4. That was a thing he did. But there's no way to know if the tall whites are actually like things that exist. I do think they do. But we'll talk about theories in a second. Iran, Russia, and that Canada guy all assert that the U.S. government is run by the shadow government and the tall whites.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into other theories like they worked with the Nazis and that's how the Nazis came up with the whole Aryan bullshit. Because, no, I don't want to talk about Nazis. They fucking suck. This is a fun show.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about these cunts. Because if you've noticed, I've never done like the Nazi bell or like the Lance of Longinus that Hitler supposedly got a hold of. Because I don't.
Or Hitler fled to South America. I've heard that one.
Yeah, they're just not fun. And I don't want to talk about not fun stuff.
Yeah.
I hate Nazis. Anyway. So again, fuckability scale 10.
10. Even though radioactive.
But they kind of sound like Warhammer elves to me.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to abduct me from my planet and literally cut out my asshole?
Yeah, that's rude.
That is something the fucking dark elves in Warhammer would definitely do for fun.
Yeah.
So that totally makes them an 11 on my scale.
Wow.
I'll do it.
I think they're the highest ranking out of everything on the scale.
That is Spider Lady.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm into that. I'm not ashamed. I should be.
Spider people.
I just I don't know why I like anything. It just happened. Just pushes a weird little button in my brain. I go, horny. And I don't know why. But that's the story for today, friends.
Wow.
So I want to know, like, you guys get my ratings. I want to know y'all's ratings. What do you rate the cryptids we've covered so far on the fuckability scale? What's your fuckability scale? How would you rate, for example, El Chupacabra? If you don't rate it 0, I will frown, but I will listen and I will not kink shame.
I don't like no dogs.
Well, it's a weird little wrinkly fucking bat dog thing. You.
No.
And the Flatwoods monster, remember, smells like rotten eggs.
Yeah.
Van Meter Visitor, I bet he's hung. But he's also a pterodactyl man, and that's weird.
He's got pants.
He did not have pants.
Oh.
He had man legs.
Oh, I put pants on him.
You did put pants on him, but he didn't. I mean, it didn't say, but I'm assuming he didn't have pants.
My brain put pants on there.
Are they like kind of shredded at the bottom?
No, I just put jeans on them.
I put a sensible pair of trousers
I
on the
did.
Man Meter Visitor. Yeah, that's silly. You know what's not silly?
Huh.
Business time.
Business time.
Yo, I don't have a lot of business time. I barely got any time or my shit together. I was in a literal... Okay, so what I did to get through all the not having...
darkness, the dark times.
The darkness.
The dark ages.
The not having internet. I just made a bunch of weed cookies, and I don't know what happened.
The rest was fine.
The rest was fine, and I think I napped.
Fine.
It was very relaxing.
Yeah.
Except when I was going insane, because there was nothing to fucking do. And you may say, well, Lillian, you're an artist. Couldn't you make some art?
Couldn't you draw?
I use reference photos for my art.
Yeah.
So no.
God. Anyway.
You can join our Patreon.
Do it.
There's many episodes, over 200.
Over 200.
And there's going to be a new one this weekend. I don't know what I'm covering yet.
We don't know.
I have a whole list, and I haven't looked at it yet because I'm still trying to get my shit together. This month's theme for the regular podcast is stalkers. So that's fun. And so that's what we'll be covering. And you all will want to mind the trigger warnings on these. It's very rough. I've already started researching my case, and it's just... it's awful. So, yeah. And part of that was inspired by, like, everyone in the Discord had watched the Baby Reindeer show. And I asked my opinion on it. And so a lot of you have asked. And here's my opinion on it. It's fucking garbage. It's some of the worst queer representation I've ever seen. If you are a trans person, please don't watch this, like, without reading the trigger warnings. It was not kind.
Yeah,
So, you know, I don't want to see that.
Right.
It also portrayed stalking in a really weird, fucked up way that I didn't appreciate as a victim of stalking myself. So that's just my 2 cents. You can like what you like, but no, I would not recommend it for everyone that has asked me that I could not reply to. Y'all, when I got my internet back, I had 75 messages on Facebook and 37 on Instagram.
Dang.
I ain't going through all. I love you, but I can't. I will lose it. That's just, I don't have the time. It doesn't mean I don't care. And yes, the pod is still going. We're never going to quit. Unless we're dead. And maybe I can come back from the grave to be annoying somehow.
Right.
But yeah, the best way to support this podcast is Patreon. You can go to our coffee. You can buy us a coffee. I need more than a coffee. I need like a hard cider and a bowl because this last week was bullshit.
Yeah.
So stressful. So if you want to do any of that, you totally can, but you don't have to. If all you do to listen to support this podcast is listen, please know we appreciate it. And hey, our patrons that have stuck around while we have been all fucked up, thank you. We really appreciate you very much. And what?
MVP.
They are the MVTs.
Oh
shit. Yes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit some notification things, and leave a comment and say, Lillian, I would not have sex with these weird aliens. And I'll be like, I understand. You and me are built differently. I'm built incorrectly.
Thank you for your input.
Yes. Anyway, until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/cruelty has all the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Willie B.